Hello, welcome to Post Colonial Space. I'm Masood Raja, and today I want to briefly talk about developing certain rituals, habits, and hobbies that can help you sustain an academic life, a life of the mind, over a long period and maybe over a lifetime. Now, most of this is based in my own experience as an active scholar and as a teacher. So many years ago, when I started my career, I realized that I become usually too focused on my scholarly pursuits, and I have, as a lot of my friends have pointed out, this single minded focus that I can bring to bear on any work of scholarship. But I also realized that there was a need for me to have certain non intellectual things that I do which show me some immediate results, but which are also creative and which help me pour some energies into something outside of research work and writing and publication. And the biggest advantage of that is that it takes you away from the everyday routine of doing intellectual work, which can be deeply emotionally exhausting and physically exhausting too. And then look forward to something that you give to yourself as a gift or as a present at the end of the day. So over my career as a scholar and as a professor, I've gone through different hobbies. There was a time I started cross-stitching. There was a time I learned how to knit, and I still occasionally do that. Actually, I have a couple of projects sitting in my office where I'm knitting a scarf for my wife and something else for her as well. So these hobbies also give you things that you can do for people that you love, right? And which makes it all the more endearing and interesting. Then a few years ago, I also decided I was going to start growing orchids, and that got me into collecting different kinds of orchid plants, mostly Cattleya orchids, but also learning how to keep them alive, learning how to bring them to bloom. That eventually went into a larger project of building a greenhouse, which we still have at our house. Sadly, though, a few years ago, I had some great losses, right? And I'm still recovering from them. So my interest in orchids kind of slightly waned. It's still there, but it's not something that I go back to and look forward to doing after I finish a work. A few months ago, I also decided to start making leather materials, right? And I went and learned how to cut leather, how to shape it, how to cut it to a pattern, how to sew it. And I ended up making quite a lot of things. Some of them I have gifted to my friends. Some of them I've gifted to my wife. She actually now carries a purse that I made for her. And then on the insistence of some of my friends, I even placed some of those things on an Etsy store, and they actually sold. But what it gave me was something to do which was creative, which would render immediate results, but which was not related to researching, writing, and reading. And the significance of having a hobby like that is that it breaks the routine for you, and it is something that you can look forward to after a long day's work writing or researching. Now, for me personally, writing and researching actually is a fun thing to do. So it's not like I'm offering myself that gift at the end of the day, but it's something additional that you look forward to, that you do while you sit and don't have any research work to do, any writing to do, any teaching preparation to do. Another long-term hobby that I have is gardening. Right? So wherever we have lived, I've either had small pots in which I plant certain things or a large garden, depending on where we are. Right now, since we have a huge backyard, I have a whole area of our backyard which has been converted into a garden. In the summer or early spring, I start planning my summer garden, but this year I actually planned and planted a whole winter garden. So that is something else to look forward to as you see the plants grow and come out. So these are some of the hobbies that I have had or still have, And all of these then become these practices, these rituals that can be relaxing, right? That help you overcome any pressures or stresses of the job, or even help you pour your energy into something positive if you're having some negative experiences in your studies or in your research or in your interactions with people you work with. All of these hobbies, or which we used to call extracurricular activities, give us a positive outlet to pour our energies into, to pour, so to speak, our hearts into, and can be really, really rewarding, both emotionally but also materially, as we make things and gift someone something that we ourselves make. So, I would highly recommend, if you are going to have a life of the mind, if you are going to be a scholar, a professor, a researcher, do not just let that define who you are. Develop a hobby or be a part of a social group, online or in the material world, where you interact with like-minded people, where there is no competition, no contest, just support. Or do something where you just actually go and dig the earth and plant some seeds. Anything that breaks the routine and gives you this positive interaction, either with other people or with some fine materials or with the earth itself. And you will see that as you grow into your profession, these things, instead of being like an addendum or an addition to who you are, will become a part of you, right? And will eventually also sustain you in your role as a scholar, as a professor, and as a teacher. At least that's what they've done for me. So overall, since this is part of, my advice routine, and I don't do much of it, but I thought, I share so much of my scholarly pursuits and my scholarly work and information about literary texts and literary theory. But I think it is also important to share what are some of the things that ground me, some of the things that give me this peace of mind or this way of dealing with the world, especially when the world is in a terrible space right now, politically, environmentally, because of COVID-19. So these are some of the things that I think we can do, but it doesn't have to be any of the things that I've mentioned here. Find something that is not directly related to your job or to your other obligations, something that you do for yourself and which makes you happy and which makes you use a different kind of creativity, a different kind of care, right? And you will see that you will look forward to doing whatever ritual, whatever hobby, habit you choose, and then it will also kind of invigorate you to face the world, to face work, or any challenges that might come your way. Think about it, and if you already have some really amazing hobbies or rituals and you want to share it with me and others, please post them in the comments. I would love to see what you do to sustain yourself, to keep yourself grounded, to keep yourself invigorated. That's all. Thank you so much for your time, and as always, peace and love.